We would like to welcome back our guest attorney, David Wedemeyer of O'Grady & Wedemeyer, a firm which focuses its practice on residential real estate. Today, he will be giving us tips on bankruptcy. Well, our last segment was about business startups. Occasionally, things don't always work, so we would like, if it's okay, to talk a little bit about bankruptcy. And first of all, what are the main types of bankruptcy?
Well, you have Chapter 7, Chapter 11, and Chapter 13. Chapter 7 and 13 are for personals, and then Chapter 11 is for businesses. So kind of like there's a business cycle, sometimes there's a personal cycle in your finances. I'm not necessarily a bankruptcy attorney, but I work with a lot of clients who have filed bankruptcy and help them out with their debt, or if they're upside down in their home and they're still titled on it. So.
Right.
The main difference between a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13 is the person's income, all right? There's a threshold of $48,000 to qualify for a Chapter 7 automatically. There's another way you can as well. It's called a means test. It means that you can make more than that, but based upon your cash flow, how much money you take in and how much money goes out, basically your debt to income ratio. If it's really poor, then you could still qualify for a Chapter 7 versus a 13. And really the main difference is, other than the fact of qualifying for it, is under a 7, you're not going to be repaying your creditors. Under a 13, you get put into a plan and you have to repay your creditors based upon whatever the trustee, the person who handles the bankruptcy estate, whatever they kind of deem as the plan. Or you can get discharged from a Chapter 7 in 3 to 4 months. Chapter 13s, like I said, it's a payment plan, so you could be looking years out, and people have a tendency not to complete those plans as well.
Okay. Question, if someone does 7 or 13, do they still own their home?
They are still titled on the property, which means that the title, the deed that's recorded with the county recorder's office, wherever the property's in, still has their name on it. Really, the bankruptcy has to do with the debt. I'm really glad you brought this up, because I've been getting a lot of people calling, hey, I filed bankruptcy, what do I do? Do I have to pay my HOA? Am I paying my property taxes? What's going on? And then I do a little bit of research for them and figure out that there's an HOA lien, which they can foreclose on the property and sell the property right out from underneath the homeowner, or there's property tax issues, or they could still have the lien from the mortgage recorded against the property as well, which all affects the ability of the homeowner to sell the property if they want in the future. So the long and short of it is, a short sale after a Chapter 7 or during a Chapter 13, there's some legal maneuvering that has to be done with the courts on that one, because the person is in a plan.
Right.
They can have a clean cut and get out from underneath the property and move forward. Chapter 7, they're still going to have to pay their HOAs. They're still going to have to pay their property taxes. I've spoken with some bankruptcy attorneys that say, well, they really don't have to. That's true, considering that there'll just be an HOA lien filed or a property tax lien filed, and there could be a foreclosure, and then the proceeds from that sale will go to the lien holders, okay? So basically the HOA or the government who has the property tax on it. So really they don't have to pay them, but in order to protect the property, they probably should, and legally they are still liable for those debts, or for those obligations, really. You're going to have to be paying your HOA dues, your property taxes, everything else. In the 13, that home is going to be in the plan, so every month the person writes a check to the trustee, and the trustee distributes those funds however the plan is. So let's put it like this. Say you're in a Chapter 13, and your home is still upside down, and you're still paying into it, and you want that to end. You can go to the bankruptcy court and say, hey, I want approval to short sell the property. Now, your plan is going to be readjusted. It's not like, oh great, I don't have to pay that portion into it. But then again, at least the money is going to creditors to solve problems, other than something that you're still going to own that's depreciating, or you're still way upside down on it.
And how does that compare to a 13? Is it about the same? Or?
Well, that's the 13. The 7, you're going to be discharged. So
okay.
all the debts that you incur after you file bankruptcy are new debts. They're not included in that schedule, okay? That's what I call them, schedules. It's basically like a ledger or a spreadsheet of all your debts and your creditors and all that stuff. So your HOA dues, because they're constant every single month, they're going to be accruing just like your property tax. And if you want to keep the property, you're going to have to pay those regardless, or when you go to sell it, you're going to have to come up with money otherwise. And even though you might, this is a kind of a misconception, even though the person might get out of the bankruptcy for a Chapter 7 and it could close, okay, that's not really the right term for it, but they could get finished with that, they still could have the mortgage lien on their property, okay? So that means when they go to sell it, they still have to come up with at least that money that they owe, whatever's recorded.
So the benefits then would be, because obviously you wouldn't file if there wasn't a benefit, so maybe you could describe some of the benefits.
Of course, I think bankruptcy is kind of waving the white flag to a certain extent. It really depends on the person's situation, so I might be generalizing a little bit when I say that, but they can still do things that are beneficial for them when they're in the plan or after that Chapter 7 is discharged. Like, say for example, it's an investment property and the person files bankruptcy, and it's personal, it's not a Chapter 11, it's in a 7. Okay. So let's say they're one of our California residents who's watching, and the plan was discharged, okay, so they're out of bankruptcy, they still own it, they still need to pay their HOA, they still need to pay their property taxes, they still need to insure the property, and what if they don't have anybody in it? What would be the point of having that property? Just call it a day, do the short sale, cut ties with it, so you don't have this liability waiting, around their neck anymore. In a 7, let's say it's an owner-occupied home and they get it discharged. Like I said, they're still liable for all those things. And in addition, they're really not making a mortgage or a rent payment, so they're not moving forward with their credit. That's a difficult thing because everybody says, well, I have a BK on my record, et cetera, that's going to last, X amount of years, 10 years. But let's just say the HOA forecloses on you. That adds another 3 years, plus you took another hit on your credit. And everybody's always talking about, well, if I file BK, how long before I can buy a property again? Well, the first thing they should do is kind of start making payments to build their credit up. And one of those things that they report on is rent, and cars and credit cards and other things, but it's an important step to take to start rebuilding your credit.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. You're informative as always.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. We at 048 Realty have a network of experienced attorneys who will represent you throughout the short sale process at no charge to you, and I repeat, no charge to you. We believe our client should be represented by a team of seasoned professionals who can protect their rights, help them understand the short sale process, and avoid potential pitfalls.
Keeping or buying a home in Las Vegas is no longer an easy task. You need someone who has local experience, integrity, and dedication to help you. 048 Realty has helped Las Vegas families in need for the past 10 years. It is a team of real estate professionals with a proven track record.
Hi, if you're looking for a fresh start and keep your home, or if you're looking for the best value in a new home in Las Vegas, please call us now.
048 Realty, a local company you can lean on in bad or good